Frank Watson here with Tom Probasco, who has something to say. Good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Frank. How you doing?
Well, I'm no further behind than usual.
Yeah, well, I know that. Yeah, there you go. That's kind of where I stay.
I appreciate the reminder. What's going on with me is that I've been uh, I moved a chair into our bedroom that I can sit in when it's near time for Barbara to wake up,
Yeah,
so that she doesn't wake up by herself.
yeah.
And then when she wakes up, I fix her a cup of coffee, and I have a little something to eat for her. And Barbara's one of those people that really should have a cup of coffee and a little something to eat when she wakes up, so that she doesn't hurt anybody on the way to a cup of coffee and something to eat.
I was going to say, what? Okay.
She she's a lovely person, and uh, I like to keep her that way.
Yeah,
So
yeah, that's a good idea.
we might want to change our time to afternoon, even, because somewhere between 10 and 11:30 or 12, somewhere between 10 and 12 is when she wakes up.
Yeah. Okay.
So
Yeah, we can.
or we could possibly, um, yeah, that would probably be it, afternoon.
Yeah,
But
we'll take a look at it.
take a look at it.
'Cause
Yeah.
you know how you do, you get things kind of set a certain way, and then so yeah, we'll have to we'll we'll discuss that.
Well,
Uh,
if right now we're here and she's still sleeping, so
yeah.
let's roll on.
Okay. Just a quick, I'll call it a technical note, I guess. I didn't realize. So I save these sessions we do here. And I was looking at one this morning. I was just trying to check on views or something, but in the process of doing that, it said read a transcript. And I thought, transcript? And I clicked on it, and sure enough, AI or something transcribes it. I didn't check it to see how accurate it might be, but there's a transcript of this thing. It must just be something that happens.
Isn't that awesome?
Did you ever hear it? Were you ever had any awareness of that?
No, I did have a friend, Gail Wilson, told me that she's been getting ads on the prayers and positive thoughts that Pat Baker and I do,
Yeah.
and I assumed she meant on Facebook. Uh, so
Yeah, I've never really quite, yeah, I remember I asked you, I said, do you post this on your Facebook page or elsewhere? And I was never really clear, but I think this just comes through on your Facebook page
um, uh,
and YouTube.
and YouTube, yes, I
Yeah.
posted separately to YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Aaron Lip had asked me about it at some point, and I said I'm not sure where all it is, but he eventually did find it. I think just on Facebook. However, Facebook decides to show you something. But anyway, yeah. Well, I was not too long ago. I I viewed this documentary, uh, and it's called "Devil Put the Coal in the Ground." And uh, there's probably other ways to view it, but I ordered a copy. I asked the library to buy a DVD of it, and surprisingly, they did. So I know the library has a copy, a DVD copy for those of you who are like me, which still look at things on a DVD player. Again, so it'd be the Indianapolis Public Library site, Devil Put the Coal in the Ground. And I'm just going to read a description of it because this is leading to what I'm going to say next. So this is a brief synopsis of what this documentary film is about. It says uniquely structured upon the personal storytelling of native West Virginians. Devil Put the Coal in the Ground is a meditation on the suffering and devastation brought on by the coal industry and its decline, from the realities of a crumbling economy to the ravages of the opioid epidemic to the irreparable environmental damage and its tragic impact on human health. This film is a cautionary tale of unfettered corporate power and an elegy to a vanishing Appalachia. So, uh, the reference to the environmental damage. So, at one time, the mining was what is in some places called deep mines, where coal miners go down and mine, extract coal by going down in the mine, digging, shoveling, picking, putting it on cars, and it gets hauled out. Well, at some point, coal industry decided it'd be a lot cheaper to just dig it out by taking, just literally destroying the mountaintop, just pushing it out of the way, uh, which caused untold, as it says, just unrecoverable damage to the environment. And it also put people out of work. So when you just have a bunch of heavy machinery in there scooping, literally pushing, the top of the mountain off, trees, rocks, just dumping it, you know. Uh, so it ruins the environment and and people can't work. So that leads to a variety of things that you'll see on this documentary, and I recommend you take a look at it. Um, uh, People are unemployed. There's no other work around. They've never, they've done this work for generations. This is what they know how to do. And it supported the communities. Um, People had good enough wages that they, could support themselves. And the environmental damage was limited, at least compared to mountaintop mining. Uh, so the other thing then this film had was, well, it had a couple of singers. I've got quick notes here. In fact, there's a song. Uh, I'm just going to pull it up here. Bear with me just a moment here. I have to talk to my phone. Um, Lyrics to Devil Put the Coal in the Ground. And it's a song. Some of you may have heard. I know you have Steve Earle. It's a Steve Earle written song. He sang it on this film. And it just goes like this. Well, the devil put the coal in the ground. Devil put the coal in the ground, buried it deep, and it will never be found. Devil put the coal in the ground. He said, that'll be a diamond someday. That'll be a diamond someday. You'll be long gone, dead and away, but that'll be a diamond someday. Well, the devil put the coal in the ground. Devil put the coal in the ground. He said, I double dare you to follow me down. Devil put the coal in the ground. Well, the good Lord gave me two hands. The Lord gave me two hands. Is you an animal or is you a man? The good Lord gave me two hands. Lord giveth and he taketh away. Lord giveth and he taketh away. Oh, devil, dig the same damn hole every day. Lord giveth and taketh away. And then it repeats, well, the devil put the coal on the ground, put the coal on the ground. He said, double dare you to follow me down. Devil put the coal on the ground. Hey, I wake up in the morning and pray. Wake up in the morning and pray. Keep old, keep old from the door and the devil at bay. Wake up in the morning and pray. Well, the black lung will kill me someday. Black lung will kill me someday. Already underground, I reckon anyway. But black lung will kill me someday. And it repeats the refrain, but you get the idea too that uh, so mountaintop mining hadn't occurred yet, and yet there's still things that they're still suffering. There's no protection against black lung. Uh, so it already people died young, sometimes there were cave-ins, but the worst, even with all that, the worst hadn't arrived yet when it went away. So it's quite a quandary when you think about it. Um, then so that Steve Earle, and that was in this documentary. Then there was a another singer, some of you may have heard of, Iris Dement. Very unique voice. I have to say a couple things about her, but she did a song on there. Julia was watching this with me, and I'll have something to say about that in just a moment. Um, Lyrics to Our Town by Iris Dement. Uh, so throughout, it's interviewing people in the film, and then occasionally these various songs come up. So Iris Dement. Now this would be after the town was changed so much by mountaintop mining when it arrived. And the sun's setting fast, and just like they say, nothing good ever lasts. Well, go on now and kiss it goodbye, but hold on to your lover, 'cause your heart's bound to die. Go on now and say goodbye to our town, to our town. Can't you see the sun setting down on our town, on our town? Good night. Up the street, beside that red neon light, that's where I met my baby on one hot summer night. He was the tender and I ordered a beer. It's been 40 years and I'm still sitting here. But the sun's setting fast, and just like they say, nothing good ever lasts. Will you go on now and kiss it goodbye, but hold on to your lover, 'cause your heart's bound to die. Go on now and say goodbye to our town, to our town. Can't you see the sun setting down on our town, on our town? It's here I had my babies and I had my first kiss. I walked down Main Street in a cold morning mist. Over there's where I bought my first car. It turned over once, but it never went far. And I can see the sun setting down, and just like they say, nothing good ever lasts. We'll go on now and kiss it goodbye, but hold on to your lover, 'cause your heart's bound to die. And then it goes on. Uh, I buried my mama and I buried my pa. They sleep up the street beside that pretty brick wall. I bring them flowers about every day, but I just got to cry when I think what they'd say. If they could see how the sun's setting fast, and just like they say, nothing good ever lasts. We'll go on now and kiss it goodbye, but hold on to your lover, 'cause your heart's bound to die. And then it repeats. But that song arose in the film. They put it in there when things were changing from one generation that depended on deep mining coal, which again had its problems, but not like what arrived later. It wasn't just the fact that the creeks and all that were poisoned. When people didn't have anything to do, opioids uh, came on the scene, and it was just like devastation followed devastation. But another thing, when Julia was listening to that, she said, "Oh, that's the voice of the woman." We have been trying to find another song that she had heard Iris DeMent do, and I could not find it. Uh, but when she heard that voice, she said, "That's the woman." So I walked into my little DVD collection. I pulled out a disc from 1992 called Infamous Angel. And there it was, and the song was Let the Mystery Be. Um, and so I'm going to pull that up here. Um, Julia has said, this is kind of, it just caught her, we all have our different views of what, if anything, comes after we die, but she really liked this and she heard it years ago, and then I couldn't recover it, even though I had played it. Let me do Let the Mystery Be by Iris DeMent lyrics. And so this is the lyrics, and then this will be the last thing I read from this documentary. Let the mystery be, Iris DeMent. Everybody is wondering what and where they all, everybody is wondering about what and where they all came from. Everybody is worrying about where they're going to go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain. And so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Some say once you're gone forever. And some say you're going to come back. Some say you rest in the arms of the Savior if in sinful ways you lack. Some say that they're coming back in a garden, bunch of carrots and little sweet peas. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Everybody is wondering about where and they all came from. Everybody is worrying about where they're going to go when the whole thing's done. But no one knows for certain, and so it's all the same to me. I think I'll just let the mystery be. Some say they're going to a place called glory, and I ain't saying it ain't so, ain't a fact. But I've heard that I'm on the road to purgatory, and I don't like the sound of that. I believe in love, and I live my life accordingly. But I choose to let the mystery be. And then just repeats the chorus. So that's a thing that really appealed to Julia, and I had kind of forgotten about that particular disc, but I like it a lot too. Let the mystery be. So
Yeah.
back how that.
Pat Webb did some things about uh, coal and uh, including a town where an underground mine had been uh, caught on fire,
Yeah,
and
never gets put out sometimes.
now and that's what Pat was talking about, and you know that the whole town was sitting on top of a coal fire. As I recall, I don't know where to find that bit of work that he did.
Yeah, I've got. In fact, I'll read next year. I'll read a couple more of Pat's, and I've read those two chapbooks that. Well, you handed me the pair that I got put in the libraries, and I in the public Indianapolis Public Library Special Collections Room, and then I think also Al Stone had copies. Maybe it was the same two. But I've looked through this and I don't, was it do you, in your recollection, excuse me, in your recollection, was it a song or just poetry or which his were kind of both, but
No, I don't remember.
yeah, about,
Uh,
isn't that funny? All the listening I've done to,
I think it was like I think there was music to it, but
okay.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
but I remember uh, the image in my mind of the coal in the ground burning.
Yeah. Well, over the years, I'm not sure where it was, but that was on the news that this
Yeah,
mine caught on fire. There was no way to put it out. And
yeah.
what was it going to mean, sitting there burning? What was it going to mean to, anything above it? cave in, or they just I don't and I haven't heard anything about it in years. Um, which kind of reminds me, we've talked about, and I'm gonna get to visit Chris tomorrow, Chris Webb, Pat's son, and I've been talking to you, Frank, about that disc, Terresque,
Yes.
Terraesque, and I've made several others aware of it because I got with Chris, as I told you, and reviewed each of the tracks on it. I had not known until recently that it was a complete album. So I sat down with Chris, track by track, and figured out, well, with him telling me as I wrote it down, what all the pieces were called and who was doing it. Because there's a lot of instrumental work on there. Pat
Yeah.
and Chris and Al Stratner on the harmonica, but there's also a number of things that are read. But so Terra-esque, so Terra, Terra, the earth, uh, esque, the suffix esque, like the earth, of the earth, so that it was really, there were several pieces on there that they toyed with the idea of calling it something else, but Terresque was what stuck. And why it got produced in Steve Creech's studio, which is where it was produced and never released, even Chris is not 100% sure. He offered up some possibilities, but that's what it means, terra of the earth and esque related to. Um, but Pat's, let's see, I think I've got, yeah, Pat's, let me get the right thing here that I want to read. This is kind of reminds me of the relationship between um, Pat and it never says directly here. Um, but it's I think it's Pat referring to Chris in some way. And it's called The Inheritance. Take my guitar, son, one of the best old guitars in the world. When I go on, when my body falls back to earth, it could be my spirit. My soul will be around to hear you somewhere. This guitar has been many places. Bust out joints to concert halls. Everything from bluegrass to blues, gospel to classical has been played on it. And by golly, he did too.
Yeah.
It has backed up poems, played for dances, weddings, and funerals. And yes, it has spent the night under a few different beds, some of them with satin sheets. The original owner was killed on the beach at Normandy. That was World War II. Of course, I survived my war in Korea, which included the hardest battle of the 20th century. I survived some private wars also, as have you. So if I drink an extra bottle or two, I know you'll understand. And there's stories, as we both know, about all that. I found the guitar through an unusual sequence of events. I feel I inherited it from a brother, not a birth brother, a war brother, a blood brother. I believe I was led to it. It sings with the best guitar voice I have ever heard. It has a good spirit in it. It's the right guitar for all your different songs. I am a fortunate man being able to leave it to the right person, both by blood and ability. I know you'll do good by it. I like to think I'll be able to hear you from where I am. Tell the audience a little about me and the original owner, who was a great player, and then get into it. It will sure answer you. Drive it. make it sing, and throw in one of my sounds sometimes. I may be listening. When you listen to Terror-esque, sort of a lost item. I think I have the only disc that exists. I was talking to uh, Scott Millsop, who sent it to me, and it's just a remarkable thing because on there, Chris and Pat play a lot together, or following one another a lot. So there's a lot of Chris and Pat on there. Now that you may know, Frank, that I'm not sure. Aside from this, I've never heard anything about this particular guitar that he apparently got from someone in the Second World War. I don't, I know something about the uh, guitar that he had when I met him in 2004 down at a pizza joint in Nashville, Indiana. But until I read this, I've never heard about this other guitar. And I've not really, I'm going to have to ask Chris tomorrow. Um, I've never heard him mention it. You know anything about that?
Uh, when I met him, he was playing a triple O Martin that had belonged to Roy Rogers, and that I that's all I
Yeah,
remember of that. Then he had one made that he helped design by
that's the
fellow.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it called? It had yeah, it was a particular, and Chris has told me about some of these, and it was an unfortunate series of events that Chris did not wind up with this particular guitar I think we're talking about.
Well, it was unfortunate, or it was a series of events. Good luck, bad luck, who knows? But
Frank Watson's phone.
it's the fate of the one who just walks that straight path uh, of the spirit. Sometimes it rains and sometimes the sun shines, and the scripture says God makes the rain to fall and the sun to shine on the good and the evil alike. Uh, and um, unless you're doing it for the money, you're quite likely to end up doing it uh, for yourself, and there'll be times that you have to do something else to eat. It's not that way, for some people, but uh, it was his path to the truth had no compromise, and if he'd have signed the deal in Nashville, if he'd made a deal with the devil, but that he would have ended up in his own coal mine, uh,
Yeah.
I kind
Losing what he valued.
of,
Yeah.
so he
Yeah.
valued his freedom to speak his truth,
Yeah.
and speaking your truth doesn't always get paid in cash.
No, and that's interesting that in uh Pat's, yeah, you think about Pat, I remember, and you're referring to this when he said something you wrote. He said, if I'd have signed that contract, I assume he was referring to Nashville. He said, you'd know who I am by now.
Yeah.
But Pat had a music career that did, and we've talked about this before, when in his younger days, he and his wife, Charlotte Daniels, they were known up in certain circles up in up northeast.
Bob Dylan used to come listen to him.
Yeah, that was a story that I heard from Chris Webb. In fact, found this biography by somebody, kind of a rambling sort of thing, but it verified that that's indeed what Dylan did. And before he was Bob Dylan, he would
Yeah.
go hear Pat. So, he had this career, and then, and I've said this before too, and whenever I would mention, when I worked at the Central Library, a lot of people in the arts, involved with the arts, working there, and anytime you'd mention Pat or Chris Webb, they knew who they were, and they had gone to hear them. Um, Pat's been gone since I think the year was 2013. I think I've got that right. Chris went on, but then illness. He's still with us, and I visit him whenever I can, but he's not able to perform. Um, so again, same idea. If he'd have, when he was younger, if he'd have, so I don't even know how much Chris even considered. I don't know his story as far as about. He did travel with some bands that traveled all over the country, and I forget which one it was. He would tell he this is in our conversations over the last 2 or 3 years. So he has, that his writing, his skill level when he could play with his hands the way they are now, he can't. He was right up there. And I was discussing this Terror-esque album with Scott Millsop on an email. And he said, he said, Pat always gets the accolades for his playing. But he said, you listen to this disc, and Chris is right up there.
Oh yeah,
I'd always thought of him, as the lyricist, the superior, that as your late son C.J. Watson said, he's at the Bob Dylan level for,
right.
and but until you listen to this album where the both their guitars are really featured on there, and you know who's playing, he's as Scott said, he's really got it. He has his own touch on the thing, which
Yes,
is really a sweet sound.
yes, and he did get his mother's guitar.
Yes, which he still has.
Yeah, that it's all ate up from being played hard,
Yeah,
and he gets a lot of good stuff out of it. And
he certainly did.
when he's able to play, and
Yeah,
I I really, Chris stayed at the house there at 12th and Arsenal with us some when Pat was there and
yeah,
CJ and all. And I knew that he was playing. He and CJ were both just, they were getting really good, and Pat was still a lot better than him. Uh, uh, and it was later when Barbara and I were doing historical reenacting, and we were camped down at Friendship.
Ben Franklin and Goody.
Yeah, and Pat and Chris came down and played for us. And I became aware that night of Chris as a powerful, powerful, and mature performer, an artist. Uh, and a thing that really put me over the top was his rendition of uh, uh, Refugee. Uh, and it it would just knock me out. I mean, it was powerful, and he had a powerful spirit going through him, uh, carrying the music with it. So, uh, but he his path took him to some heavy traffic there in overseas, and with the being a government contractor, which I think, well, contracting with the government is kind of like mining coal, uh, it's like being in the military without some of the benefits.
Yeah.
They want to be able to fight more wars, so they try to cheat the people that are doing the fighting. And I think that
Yeah.
I
So,
and we make choices when we allow that to happen. And I say we, to the extent that we are allowing it, um, we make choices that allow us to remain ignorant. Uh, and interestingly, uh, I I was impressed by J.D. Vance's book, Hillbilly Elegy, uh, and he talks about uh, the the opioid addiction and the epidemic there in southern Ohio and and the culture, and that culture is I think that there's things there that are good and there's things there that are toxic. And even though there are things there that are toxic, people have choices, and to choose to stay with your culture and the toxicity, that's a choice.
well, and I think when you that's a there is a question that's been debated in psychology and philosophy about what choices do we really have? What free will do we really have? And whatever the answer to that is or isn't, um, certainly addiction. You become you become your choices kind of go away. Your ability when you are so tied uh, to something that initially maybe helped, um, but then you th then you can't free yourself. You find out. I know from my own experience, something that helped briefly then hurt, and it took a long time for me to quit chasing the dragon, which I finally luckily did. But that is an interesting, people will debate that about what the notion that you're raising their free will, what choices, do we really have? And people view that differently. I'm aware of that.
I think that I smoked tobacco.
Yeah.
I started smoking tobacco and drinking when I was 15.
Yeah.
Uh, I quit cigarettes on the way to the hospital with
I
my
remember you saying that.
first trip to the hospital. But the thing that helped me quit smoking and to confront my addictions was love. And
Yeah.
you know, I would say that I was delivered by love. I was laying in the hospital. I couldn't smoke there. And I thought about Barbara trying to raise kids. Wasn't my kids, other than I had invested in them, but they were her kids. And I loved her. And I thought about her trying to live in the neighborhood and work jobs and pay bills. And and I didn't want to leave.
Yeah.
And I I came home free of addiction. It
Yeah.
wasn't willpower, it was love. And I think that if we look at the scripture, Paul defines God as love, and I think that anything else that people add to that, all the we have to be wary because I think we're limiting love and its power to heal and to nurture and I'm we've talked about God and that and um, our approaches to it seem to differ, but I think that we both, Tom, I think we both believe in love. I think we both know love and its power. And uh, Pat had gone through his addictions for women and wine and music. But the music, his love, his great love was the music. And that carried him through all the other addictions. And he was true to the music.
Yeah.
And he was true to his fellow human beings. He did not condone evil, and he did not advocate for addiction,
Yeah.
but he was a lover. So I think that that's important for all of us to if we want to change it change doesn't come through willpower. It comes through love. Yeah, positive change. We can choose negative change. We can say it doesn't matter. There's nothing to keep me from taking this pill. And it's not just the coal mining areas. I
Oh,
saw it.
oh.
I saw a lot of good people die, and just go right.
Yeah.
You know,
All segments of society.
yeah, all segments. Yeah,
It's an equal opportunity destroyer for sure.
that's and the thing is, you either you either choose love or you choose death.
Yeah, and sometimes that choosing is slippery. You don't, um, eh, it's easy to blame somebody for making a bad choice, but in some cases, uh, they're seeking relief from some kind of pain. And this is offered up, even though they may have heard, one has heard, don't do that. But then it slides into that realm of, in some cases, it's a prescription. And I remember several years ago, and I haven't heard anything about it for years, that they were trying to develop a way to tell who, and I don't remember how they were going to do this, but it was a thing that was trying to be discovered. If somebody gives somebody opioids, not everybody's going to become addicted. There's a distinction in brain chemistry, I guess, is what it would be. Um, and others who, if you give them this, they're likely to not be able to get off of it. So that was a thing that was known, but I haven't heard anything about and it must be a very hard thing to do. The goal was to have a test that
I
would clearly say, don't prescribe opioids to this person. They will likely have a very difficult time
I
uh,
think there's another
stopping.
factor, Tom. I think that if our decisions are made with our head, with logic and reason will serve any master. And if we're ruled by uh, uh, by our by our hungers, our physical hungers, you know, for food or sex or um, power, uh, all those decisions. You know, we make our decisions uh, with our mind, but if we open ourselves to love, we make our decisions with our heart. And if we love purely, if we pursue love until we get rid of the impurities and you know, I'm not sure to what extent I can say that I've done that, but I've done a lot of it because I love Barbara and I don't want to let her go. I have gone some places that you know, in a way, my life has become very small. Uh, I spend a lot of time back in that room with her, or sitting on the couch, or uh, you know, I do my videos, but generally I've been doing them before she wakes up, and maybe that's the best, you know, because I'm free to to speak without her having to try to follow the conversation. Now she is capable of great insight and great wisdom right now,
Yeah.
but she has trouble following conversations, and that she finds that frustrating and it makes her angry.
Yeah.
Uh, so my life is constrained by her limitations, and I
Yeah.
choose that because I love her and because I of how I feel. Whatever else I might be doing, you know, that's it's nothing compared to what I feel for her.
Yeah.
And and honestly, uh, I probably wouldn't even be here if it had not been for how I feel for about her. And it took my brain a long time to catch up with my heart.
Mhm.
You know, I, to really understand what was going on with me because uh, uh, you know I was like a, a cultural being. I loved music and uh, I loved life kind of, but I was not ruled by the greater love. And my religion has come through uh, from learning to love, and I learned that mostly with Barbara.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, all of our roads are, it's funny, all the roads are different and yet similar in ways that are hard to sometimes recognize. I don't know if this is another one from hang on a second, one of Pat's. No, that's that one. Not sure how related. Pat, you know, we all have these different um, paths, and and a lot of this that Pat experienced happened. Well, I don't know. You knew him a long time, but he had a long history even before he came to be on the Near East Side, which is where I think you met him first. Was the Near East Side, or
Yes.
was it?
Yeah.
Okay. Um, I think this would be, you know, he's referring to a time. This is probably written during the time you knew him, but he's looking back at a different era. So I'll just to see. I'm not sure how apropos this is, but it's called Red, White, and True. In the 1880s in Kansas as a child, our grandmother Daisy would ride double on a horse with her father while he shot prairie chickens, a kind of grouse, for food. She told me he would pick them up from the tall grass and the cane brakes by stretching downward, still on his horse, an impressive feat. His name was, and I'm going to mispronounce this, Lycurgus, it's Licurgus, Ellsworth Lines, but they called him L.E., understandably enough. He had fought in the Civil War at the age of 13. They would sometimes stop and visit Native Americans, so-called Indians. On one of these visits, an old Native American man told my grandmother that the difference between white people and themselves was that white people made a big fire and stood way back, and Native Americans made a small fire and stood up close. I consider this to be the ultimate ecological statement. So, kind of related, I kind of drifted away from me on there, but I wanted to work it in there, so I did.
That's a wonderful, wonderful bit of writing.
Yeah, it reminds me again of I keep talking about Terror-esque because I'm so glad I realized what I had here and what it was, But it
Yes.
made me think of that, that's why they were certainly Pat, and to some degree, Chris. You talked earlier about, choices that later you think that wasn't so good. Uh, and I will not go into much detail about Chris, uh, but he chose um, to participate, I'll say, in the conflicts of a couple decades ago. When he went in, he thought that would be something because he had an ability with languages,
Right.
and but partway through it, he saw he left, and he did. He saw more clearly what was happening, and he at that juncture changed his mind about what our government was up to. And I think that is a common story with different details depending on when and where and who. Um, you know,
Yeah, the thing about any kind of enlightenment is that there's other enlightenments to follow, and you you grasp a pattern, you understand a certain amount, but you have to keep growing and knowing, I think. Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. You go on. Uh, my my respect to all those that chop the wood and carry the water.
where did that come from?
That's a Zen.
As in, I wondered if that.
Yeah, I'm an old hillbilly that read a lot of books back when I had the ability to see well enough, and uh, I it's interesting. I had interaction with a Native American as a baby. Uh, I remember uh, I remember our neighbor whose mother was a full blood that lived up the holler from us coming and Aunt Edna was the one. She was younger, coal black hair, and I just thought she had the prettiest hair. But her mother examined me when mother brought me home and declared that I was marked by the sign of the bull. Now, not everybody gets pronounced upon by a Native American woman. I
No.
that I don't remember that because I was a baby, but I was told about it. And I honestly, Tom, I have been kind of a not a big guy, but I've been kind of kind of bullheaded.
Is
And
is that what she was, how she meant that? I guess. I mean, I decided, you see these things
nobody ever explained to me.
explained it. She just said it.
She just said it, and
That's interesting. That's
but I see that in my personality, and
but
I've
see,
tried I've tried to I've tried to stop running over people and things. Uh, and some of that is by having encountered bigger people that were bullish and responded knocked me around a bit.
yeah,
Uh,
this must have been the years before I knew. This is
well,
history to me that I'm not familiar with.
yeah, not so much. I gave up fighting, physical fighting and confrontation a long time ago when I left childhood.
Hmm.
Uh, I as a child, I was very violent, and just. But uh, I didn't want to go to jail, and so I stopped that
Yeah,
and started learning how to be human. And I'm still working on that. Uh,
I hear you.
yeah, it's important when you learn your strength. It's important to learn how to use it and how not to use it. It's something that I read that book on killing,
Right, we've discussed that
and,
here. Yeah.
and he talks about the military and the police teach shoot and don't shoot scenarios, and they drill that into people. And yeah, more people are shooting in war situations because they've been conditioned to, but they're also not shooting when they shouldn't because they've been conditioned to not shoot.
Mhm.
They've been trained to not shoot under certain circumstances.
Mhm.
And I think at our best, humans are capable of learning when and how to use our strength and when to refrain. I think that's something that Ben Franklin touched on. Uh, a lot of his value system had to do with restraint, and I think that's very important. Uh, if you've ever been around big animals, that big and strong and heavy,
Mhm.
uh,
Yeah,
and
I
and
haven't.
the male variety especially uh, can be even a tomcat. You go to pet a natural tomcat, and he's hard as a rock under that fur, uh, and there's a heaviness about him. And a bull, you get in a situation with a bull between you're between him and a fence, and he starts leaning on you. You're in trouble because there's a whole lot there to lean, and when he puts his will into it, he crush you. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. If you spend any time on a farm, you find out
yes, so
people get.
we need to take those lessons to heart in our own behavior. I'm trying to do that. I'm I'm trying to exercise restraint in my life, and as well as to use such such energy and strength as I have wisely. So and
Yeah.
lovingly, not just
Yeah.
wisely. I
Yeah. I
Love is the ultimate wisdom. So,
and it's hard to know sometimes. I was on a Joey and I take the red line uh from our place here in Broad Ripple to various places down, usually south. And it was on a platform the other day, and they got a little dicey on there. Um, and at some point, Joey said, "Why don't we just walk to another station?"
mhm.
And it was raining. I said, "No, we'll stay here because it's not it's not just operating. I don't. It's not just operating from a position of love, but knowledge, or at least I think so. Sometimes I'm afraid. Do I know as much as I think I do?" Um, my experience, I'll just say it this, my experiences at the library with folks uh, have allowed me to view behavior to some degree different than people that haven't been in those situations. So we stayed there. Things went fine. Uh,
And if you hadn't, maybe they wouldn't
well, we'd have gotten wet for dang sure because it
have.
was raining.
You know,
And I,
there, there's,
in some sense, I just didn't want to leave. Well, I didn't want to get wet. And I just thought, and I got to have some, because I didn't, we got to have some uh, conversations, I'll call them, that I wouldn't have had otherwise.
uh,
This has happened over the years, the many years that I worked at Central Library. I made connections with people that I would not have connected with. And were there problems sometimes? Yes. But are there problems with other segments of society? Hell yes.
yes.
I think it takes some recognition. And let me just kind of wrap up here with the thing you said earlier about us having different views of something or other. And one thing I've started thinking about this, I meant to say this to you, maybe I even have before, is I don't, more and more, I find myself not disagreeing with you, but simply if you make a statement of a position you have, and I'm not thinking, no, I don't agree with that, Frank. I'm thinking, I just don't relate to it. Uh, this isn't a good example, but I have people close to me have seen ghosts. And I was having a conversation. It was a cousin, first cousin. She said, "You think I'm crazy?" I said, "No." I said, I just wasn't there. In fact, with regard to things like that, I've never been there. So it's not that I think, oh, you're wrong. It's just that I haven't been connected. I haven't felt connected to it.
Right.
So that's different than, oh, that that's just wrong. It's a big difference. So I did want to say that
I,
about,
I
you
thank
know,
you, Tom. That's an interesting point of view, and uh, my particular uh, faith has been recently influenced by Julian of Norwich. Juliana, it's a woman in the 1300s
oh, okay.
who was a anchorite. She lived in a cell and she had visions.
Hmm.
And the phrase that is connected to her is from a vision where Christ told her, "All is well, all is well, all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well." Words that I don't have the exact quotation, but
Well,
all is well, and all is well, and all manner of things shall be well. And I think that whatever it is that we're doing in this life, we should do it, and to the best of our ability, learn what we can learn from it, enjoy what we can enjoy, suffer what we must suffer, and it's all going to be okay. It is okay right now, and it's going to be okay.
Yeah, that's an
And
interesting that
uh,
you know.
some people, some people believe firmly that for everything to be okay, you have to go through a certain procedures or processes or protocols. And well, if, you know, I think that that's okay too.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's certainly food for thought for further discussion because there are things that, like I just said, there are things I totally can't connect with.
Hmm.
All the time remembering these days that I don't know. It's just that I wasn't there. I'm
Yes.
not there yet. Maybe never will be, but I recognize that doesn't say anything about the truth of the view, I think. So anyway, so we're gonna meet, let's see, the next week it'll be the day after Christmas. So I think
Uh,
we can do it, or you might be tied up, or do we know yet?
let me see if I've got anything written down.
Yeah, I'll do the same. Let's see, 20, yeah, that'd be the 26th if we stay on our weekly, but
Tom, I think we're good. Give me a holler. Hit me with a text about 15 minutes before showtime.
okay, I'll try. Yeah, I'll try to do that, and
And
yeah, we'll see what we get done.
if
Okay.
I know that I'm not going to for some reason, I'll let you know.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Something may, this time of
yeah,
year you just don't know. So okay.
but
Well,
what a nice visit,
yeah.
and thank you so much.
Hey, same to you.
I
Hug to
appreciate what
Barbara,
you had to say.
and you too. And hi and hugs to Barbara.
Thank you.
All
And
right. Until next time.
until next.